Here are the supplies I'm using in this door hanger: a 15-inch wood round from Burrow Wood, and I'm going to give it a coat of this plaster color chalk paint. Then for the checkerboard around the border, I am going to use this Denim Blue paint by Ceramcoat and my 3/4 inch flat brush. And so I just start somewhere and just kind of go around. I eyeball it, but you know, if you're new to kind of doing stripes like this, you can always measure it, get your ruler out and measure. I just kind of eyeball it and just go around until I get all the way, from one point to the other. Now I'm going to work on what I call my faux plaid pattern, and I just take my fan brush, and the paint I'm using is Granite Gray. It's an apple barrel paint, and I just dip about half of my fan brush in paint, and then I just go down to make the stripes. Then I'll go across to make the other plaid, what I call the faux plaid pattern, and I just kind of go in this motion just to make the faux plaid pattern. And then for the orange, what I'm using is just a 1/2 inch flat paintbrush, and then for the orange, it's called Canyon Orange, and so I'm just going around and just making just a border. I'm kind of making a wavy motion. That way it's just not very, particular. If I mess up a little bit, it's no sweat off my back kind of thing. And then this stylus I got from the Dollar Tree. It makes wonderful polka dots. And so I'm just dipping that in the orange paint and just making some dots. And then once that's dry, then what I'm using is milk chocolate Americana brown paint. I am just going to do my shading. I really feel that it just kind of adds a bit to my painted projects. I just love doing this little shading underneath or on the side of, my painted projects. And I'm just doing that. I just dip my flat paintbrush in paint. And then the other half in clean water, I blend on a paper towel and just go across like that. Now I did get a little bit thick there at the top, but later on I just go back and add just a little bit of that plaster color chalk paint, and it was good to go. And so also what I'm doing now is just going around and just adding some shading to the orange as well as to the outside of that blue stripe. I had done some shading with that. And then I also add another layer in. The beauty is in the details, guys. You will always hear me say that. The beauty is in the details. So I go back and I add some white shading around it. And I really feel that by doing this, it really just kind of gives the door hanger, it just gives it that extra pop where it looks really nice when it's painted and everything's finished and varnished and just ready to be hung on a door. Once my paint is completely dry, I'm using my ultrafine Sharpie marker and just going in through the faux plaid pattern, just going around and giving it some Sharpie marker. That's my best friend. I just love it. It just kind of really brings my painted projects to life. Now I'm going to work on the welcome in Cricut Design Space. While that is drying, I am going to be designing the welcome stencil, and I'm going to use the Smart Stencil that I got from Cricut. Now here in Design Space, I am just going to click on an image and I'm just going to type welcome and figure out the one that I want. Now if you do not have a Cricut, I would suggest maybe Googling this shape or Googling something that has welcome, and you can do the trace method or the pencil on the back of the paper, and then you can trace it out or something to that effect. But if you've been following me for a while, you know that I love to hand letter, but I'm a more blocky font, and I really wanted this welcome that I found in Cricut Design Space. And so what I'm doing is I'm resizing this welcome to 10 inches. And then once I get it to 10 inches. What I'm going to do to make it a stencil, I want to bring in a square shape, and then I go up to the top where the size is, and then I unlock the lock so that I can manipulate the size of the rectangle, and then I just kind of put it over the welcome, and then I want to bring the welcome to the top so that I can see it and kind of position it where I have enough space on all sides. Then I gather it just by dragging my mouse across everything and, kind of attaching it together. Then I go down to the bottom right corner and click slice. And then I just move those 2 layers out of the way. And then I am left with my stencil. And then I'll just go ahead and send that to my machine. The machine I'm using is the Cricut Explore 3. And that is one that does have the smart materials where I don't need a mat. I can use a mat in it, but the Cricut Explorer 3 does have the option where I don't need a mat, and so I can use the smart materials. And then I'll go ahead and cut this out using my Cricut Explorer, and then that will be my stencil that I'm going to paint onto my door hanger. This smart stencil is just like vinyl, and I'm just kind of doing like a reverse weeding where I'm just taking out the letters, inside and, exposing all of the letters. And so then once I get all of that done, I make sure that I have all of the, little intricate parts inside the letters. And so then I just take my scraper and just kind of burnish it on the back. And I have just found by working with this smart stencil, I can peel it off if I do it backwards, because everything just peels off nicely. And I just use my scraping tool just to kind of smooth everything out. And then I'll transfer it onto my door sign. And so I kind of figure out the placement where I want it. I kind of start in the middle just to make sure that I'm, getting it centered the way that I want. And then I lay it down, just making sure that I have all of the air bubbles. So I don't get too many air bubbles, but I just make sure that there's no bubbles and that everything is nicely placed down, and so that I won't have any bleeding. And then I just have a foam brush here. And what I found, what works best for me is to kind of get as least bleeding as possible, I just am taking that foam brush and using a thin coat of paint on there. That's what I put for the base coat. And then once that kind of halfway dries, I go ahead and go back over it with a second coat of paint, going a little bit thicker, and then I go back again with the third coat, and then that gives me the thickest coat of it. And then I get really crisp lines. Very happy with the way that this stencil does for this sign. And so then I just tear it off. This is not reusable stencil. This is actually, just a one use only, but that's okay with me. And so then I just take my poking tool and just get out all of the intricate pieces. And this is very satisfying to me. I don't know. It's just very, very satisfying to me. It's just take all of this stuff out. And so then once that's done, then we're going to move on to painting the fall. And so I just have like a 1/4 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch flat paintbrush. I just kind of air draw that out just to make sure that I have enough space, and just start forming my letters, just writing out fall. And I gave that 2 coats of that Canyon orange paint, and then I'll go back and add my happy dots on there. And I just love the way that this door hanger is coming together. For highlight, I will get my flat paintbrush and some white paint and do some highlighting, just with my flat brush, my clean water, and then white paint, I'll blend on a paper towel and just go around the letters just to give it some highlight. I'll do that with the welcome as well as the fall. And then I'll go back with my little detailing brush. It's a little loved brush that I've had on hand for many years. It's kind of like my best friend, just kind of like my little Sharpie marker as well. Kind of runs a close race, my little detailing brush and my black Sharpie marker. But those two things I love to use. It just really brings my painted projects to life. And so I'll just go through the letters and just kind of, highlight them. And for the fall, I'll just make a little swoosh or a little cursive in the bubbles of the happy dots just to make them pop and give them a little bit of character. And then once all of that is dry, what I'll do is I'll take my ultrafine Sharpie marker. I'll go around and give just a little of the black Sharpie marker just to give it some black color, bring it out just a little bit. Then I also, since this is a fall project, I really like to shade and bring out my letters, especially on my fall projects. And so I just take that brown paint, the milk chocolate, I'll take a flat paintbrush, I'll do my shading the same way and just go around the letters just to make them pop. Now I'm going to make a bow for the middle of my swag, and so I'm just have some burlap here that I got from probably Hobby Lobby, and I just make a 4-inch loop on each side and just kind of figure out how I want the tails. And at first I cut it a little too long, and I go back and trim that up in a bit. And so then the 2.5-inch denim that came from Craft Outlet, I'll make a loop of that. And I love my Easy Bow Maker. If you're interested, this just really makes my bow making really easier. It really does, and so the little dowels kind of hold everything together, and so I just twist it in the middle just to bring the right side of the ribbon on the top. That's the reason why you twist it. And so a lot of friends have trouble making bows, and I just really feel that this bow maker just really does kind of make my life a little bit easier. Just take my scissors, just dovetail those, and just kind of layer just the different ribbons on top. I also have some window pane ribbon that I'm just adding to it. I'm not even making any kind of loops or anything, just kind of put a piece of that. This right here came from Craft Outlet. I'm just making probably about a 2.5-inch or 3-inch loop, twisting it, and then I'll make another loop And the reason for the twist is because I want to bring the right side of the ribbon on the top. And so then I have, one tail going one way, one tail going the other way. It just really adds to the character of the bow. And so this ribbon right here is actually from Hobby Lobby. And so just making a couple of loops, twisting it, and then turning it on the right side, and then I will put that in there. I want those tails going the opposite direction, so that's why I kind of flip that around. And then the blue and white really country, this checkered right here came from Craft Outlet. Guys, I get questions all of the time. Where do you get your ribbon? Where do you get your ribbon? Where do you get your mesh? Where do you get your supplies? And so, guys, the majority of it is Craft Outlet or Hobby Lobby. Those are my two go-to places. I will get some others from, Sam's Club or Walmart at Christmas or any place like that. But yeah, the majority is Craft Outlet or Hobby Lobby. And so, guys, once I get all of my ribbon on there, I just take a pipe cleaner, twist it. I use my needle nose pliers just to get a really tight twist, and so that my bow kind of pops like this. I am in love. I just love making little bows like this, and that is going to look great on my door hanger. All of these florals came from Hobby Lobby, and so for the flowers, I just split them in half, put half on one side, one on the other. And then those Pitberry picks also came from Hobby Lobby. I just put those in there. Now, these white ones are the ones that I like to use all of the time that come from Hobby Lobby as well, in the like all around garland section. So then I have two zip ties. I'm just going to zip tie these together, and then I tie on the bow. And then I'm going to use my 1/4 of an inch staples in my electric stapler. I got this from Sears a long time ago. It's a Easy Fire. It's an electric staple gun, and I just love it. And so then I have already made sure that my staples do not go through my board. And again, this 15-inch round came from Burrowood. And so then before I put my swag on, I remembered I needed to drill 2 holes in there. So I used my Chica electric drill just to drill 2 holes in there at the top. This blue wire I've had in my stash for quite a long time. I think I got that from Craft Outlet many years ago, but it makes a great hanger for these decorative doors like this. And I just drill those 2 holes and then, thread that wire in there, and that works great for the hanger. Okay, so then now I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and put this swag on there. So I'm just twisting my bow on. I make sure that everything is twisted tight. And I actually, I do that off camera, but I actually go back and add some E6000 glue to the bow. Even though I have it twisted on there, I always try to, just give it some extra stability with some glue. And that is what I use to staple the swag and everything onto the door hanger. I just love the way that this turned out, and I hope that you did too. I had given my community a sneak peek of it last week, and I had some very interested folks to see how I did it. Okay, guys, the very last thing that I added was some felt pads. I just get these from the Dollar Tree. I glue those on the back, about 4 of them. And so then that helps with the clanking, the clacking on the door. That is one of my pet peeves. I cannot stand a door hanger or something bouncing against a door, and those felt pads work great.